My name is Hannah, and I'm a Senior Sustainability Specialist with Minnesota Wastewise. We're a nonprofit program of the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. Last October, in partnership with Hennepin County, we launched MNimize, a new campaign to recognize and support restaurants and other food service businesses as they take action to reduce single-use plastic. We are so grateful and excited to be here with you all today to celebrate the kickoff of Hennepin County's Plastic-Free Challenge. Again, thanks for braving the weather to join us and for your commitment to the challenge this month. All right, so before we jump into our panel, I just wanted to take a moment to share our gratitude for our host this evening for this wonderful space and great food. So if we could just share a round of applause for that. Thanks for Great. So as I mentioned, MNimize is a recognition campaign as well as a technical assistance program to support food service businesses in reducing single-use plastic. We connect with businesses on an individual basis to understand how they use plastic and identify opportunities to reduce it. We have 4 achievement tiers, bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, based on the efforts that businesses are already taking to reduce plastic. And then to help them take further action if they are interested, we also have a rebate to support them towards those efforts. Tonight we are lucky to be joined by 3 owners of participating MNimize businesses. Corey Bracken, in the middle here, is the founder of Pillar. Pillar is Pillar Skateboard Company, Pillar Forum Cafe, and Pillar Fit. Pillar was founded on the idea that in order to reduce and slow the effects of human-made climate change, companies from all industries will need to step up and do their part when it comes to sustainability, the environment, and how they do business over the years to come. That's where Pillar comes in. We understand that at its core, skateboarding is about personal expression and individual freedom, and at times to go against the grain of social norms. However, when it comes to the environment and climate change, individuals making changes from the ground up and the decisions you make will influence businesses and governments alike to change as well. Pillar is committed to being 100% transparent with our impact on the environment and the decisions we make as a business. Whether it be the materials we use in our manufacturing, our skateboards and apparel, our emissions from shipping and travel, or our office activities that produce waste such as packaging and electricity usage, our carbon footprint page will track the carbon emissions for everything we do. Pillar Forum Cafe is a platinum level MNimize business, and they're in Northeast Minneapolis. Check them out. Allie Hansen, founder of the Vine Room and the Vine Shop, is a Minnesota native who moved to California and fell in love with wine and wanted to bring a slice of the Golden State back to the Midwest. Located on Main Street in Hopkins, the Vine Rooms is a fun, welcoming wine bar, also offering regular workshops and wine education classes. The Vine Shop next door is a curated bottle shop focusing on sustainably produced domestic wines and has the coolest wine club around. The Vine Room is a gold level MNimize participant. And Daniel Swenson-Clapp, at the end here, is a former middle school educator turned small business person living in Minneapolis, where he has been the owner-operator of Butter Bakery Cafe since 2006. Daniel served on Minneapolis Workforce Advisory Committee and helped launch a small business team and has been active in supporting the Kingfield and Lindale neighborhoods' local development projects. He's a leader with Main Street Alliance's Minnesota chapter and has served on the steering committee of RAISE, a national high road restaurant employer association, which has led being a testifier at city, state, and federal levels, advocating for workers, small business owners, and the environment. Daniel's business story has been told through a monthly neighborhood newspaper column for over 10 years, and now continues as a monthly blog. And Butter Bakery Cafe is also a platinum level MNimize business. All right, now I'm going to stop talking and pass the microphone. So I just wanted to start by asking each of these folks to share some of the sustainability practices that they've implemented at their businesses, including how specifically you've reduced single-use plastic.
Oh, thank you. So many things. As a restaurant, there is a lot of waste created, and for me, it's something I'm very passionate about. So right out of the gate, we made some decisions around sourcing and how we operated that was more sustainable. So a couple to highlight, we've partnered with a great company that many of you may know, Ridwell, in the cities. And we have bi-weekly pickups with them, so we, for the things that we can't get rid of plastic use around, they do collect the plastic bags that we get a lot of the products in. They're fantastic, so if you don't know them, check them out. We've also worked with Ames Farm, which is a local business here, and to get rid of saran wrap use, we use their beeswax-based for a lot of our food prep or things that we need to seal, and we can rewash those, which is awesome. Outside of that, working with businesses like Who Gives a Crap, they provide us with our toilet paper and paper towels, and all of their packaging is recyclable, and the paper products itself are recycled, so thinking of a bigger picture, but there's a lot of amazing businesses out there. We also, in food service, have to-go containers, so we have options for plant-based options. So really kind of just thinking about the items that get tossed out or used frequently, and making conscious choices about what we can replace that with. So.
All right, so Pillar started as a skateboard company out of my bedroom, I guess, and it was really easy to reduce waste because I just didn't really have a lot. So with that, one of the first things that we did, all the stuffing inside our packages, we use recycled newspaper, so we don't use anything there. The biggest thing as we transitioned to a retail location / cafe, the thing that surprised me the most was the amount of waste. I just had no idea. It's boxes after bags after more boxes. So we've done everything that we can to reduce that. The first thing we did when we built out our shop, we actually use all the demo 2x4s from taking down the office space that we moved into and use that to build the bar that now resides in our shop. I would say we probably reuse about 50 to 60% of all of this demo stuff in building the new space, which is kind of cool. And then, yeah, so our roaster that roasts our beans is located in Columbia Heights, and we worked out a reuse program with him. So every time he delivers bags, he picks up the old bags and then fills them. And so we've got that going. Our patisserie company, we use reusable travel containers with them as well. And then in the back there's a few left, but I do have some tumblers. Thank you for the back and white. We're trying to implement a reuse program for coffee. And for us, being still a small cafe up and coming, it's pretty easy to get that going. I know for a lot of existing cafes, it may be more difficult. But we're trying to reduce our overall to-go containers by 30% this year, and hopefully that will grow more by the end of next year. For our containers that we do have, we use all compostable cups, lids, and sleeves. And what else? We don't have any really to-go containers except a bag. So we just try to do that from the start, and then anything that we add to the company as we go, we're continuing to try to use the least amount of waste as possible.
Thank you. I need to find out about this coffee recycling bag thing. That's what I've been waiting for. I've been in the process of working on zero waste since 2006. And certainly in 2006, the options were much fewer. There was a lot of hunting around to find a supplier who would add things to their list based on what I was asking for. But over the years, we've watched people catch up, and I have always said I don't want to be the pioneer, the niche person. I want to be part of the norm in this setting. So it's been great to hear that's what we use. We use those compostables. We went to a goal a couple of years ago of saying, could we reduce even the compostables? Knowing that, yeah, in Minneapolis, there are some folks with the city service, and their things may get in there, but a lot of them we just didn't know what was going to happen. So we've begun looking at ways to do more of a reusable, returnable. We hooked up with the small team from Foreverware, and for the past 2 years we've been helping them come up with a system. We're one of their little pioneer pilot sites to try things out for them, work out the technology bugs. And I brought a few today to just kind of share what they're trying to do to help us think about ways to just borrow it in and back and forth. We have built in over the years a lot of systems within each of our kitchen and bakery and coffee shop area to just gather, sort, look at what we're doing. I continue to just look at the amount of plastic bags that come through the shop, and that one continues to just befuddle me of how to get rid of those. So when MNimize showed up, I'm like, this is our chance. We're gonna put it up front. So we've got ourselves a couple lists building in each of the areas that say, what did I just use that was plastic? Is there an alternative for it? Can we come up with a way to track something down? My latest one is trying to come up with some compostable food film. And it's starting to show up. It's one of those things where I'm like, I can see it out there somewhere, and now it's trying to get my hands on it. And part of the goal of the shop has always been to just say, let's try something new. Figure it out, find out when something new shows up. So it's really fun to watch those things appear and then just put them into use. We do a lot of education at the counter. There's a lot of folks who will look at us as a teaching space, and that's not just for my staff, but it's for customers too, and help them to recognize what they're holding and what that can do.
All right, fantastic. And I know that you kind of all mentioned like you just care and that you have a passion for it. But I'm curious to hear if there are any other motivating factors to making these changes, and kind of what was the impetus to taking those steps to reduce plastic and also make other sustainable changes?
For me, it is a true passion. It's something that I'm driven by in my daily life. My sweet husband here in front can advocate that almost to a fault. I operate in that space of, rewashing Ziploc bags in the kitchen. I've got a pile of them and hit my quota, but for me, really, it was in starting a business. It is my time, energy, love, and so I really wanted my business to be an extension of who I am as an individual in order for the business to have a personality and thrive. And so with the business core values really came mine, and so one of them has been making just wise decisions for our planet and for our community. And so you asked about other drivers. I think, of course, yes, there's the beautiful add-on of being able to speak to the fact that you make sustainable business decisions. There's some PR opportunity or marketing, but at the end of the day, I really don't care about that. I am here to make a positive impact and also try to educate, like you said, along the way. I think my staff, same thing, can jokingly tell you I'm like fishing out stuff out of the recycle that they put in that bucket that shouldn't have been there, but use it as a chance to even just teach them, because I think we all have the power to influence people in our lives. And for me, I have an amazing team, and they all are very open-minded when I have feedback or want to share that. And so the driver is truly trying to contribute however I can. So that's my motivator.
For me, as starting the skateboard company, and I don't know how many skateboarders we have in the audience. I'm going to assume very few. I don't want. It's an interesting culture, the skateboarding culture, and those of us that are in it, we seem to be surrounded by it. And when you look across the landscape of different skateboard companies, no one is really talking about things like climate change, waste reduction, and so there's this huge audience of people that are passionate about those things, but the community that they surround themselves in don't talk about those things. And so when I came up with the idea for starting Pillar Skateboards, it was, I want to be that person, I want to be that company that can advocate for these things that I know people care about within that culture, within that industry, but no one's really talking to it. Obviously we all know about Patagonia and how they talk about climate and, and what they do to reduce waste. And that started off as climbing, but has since evolved in other areas as well. But no one really talks about that. And if you think about skateboarders and the demographic of the skateboarding industry, it's really early teens to mid-20s, and sometimes beyond that. That's going to be a really influential age range coming up through the over the years. And if they aren't getting that message, now from the industry and the culture that they interact with, we're really missing out as leaders and an industry in not having that conversation. So that's how Pillar started. And like I said before, it was very easy for me to do that from my den or my bedroom. And now having a retail space, it's the same conversation. I want to take everything that I did on the skateboard side and transport it into the cafe and the coffee shop. So it was a really easy decision for me to start going on that path, and I thank Bonnie for introducing me to Hannah and this awesome organization. I've met a ton of great people along the way, and it's influenced all the decisions that I make with the shop. And I know you said you're on the zero waste journey. I think it's always going to be a journey. You'll never hit zero waste, and we have to accept that, but we have to do everything that we can to reduce as much as we can. So it's been really fun. Also, I'll be honest, as a startup, it's extremely expensive to do these things because they aren't broad yet. I can buy 5,000 plastic straws for 20 bucks, or I can buy 100 agave ones for 20 bucks. And those are decisions you have to make. And as a startup, small business owner, those are tough decisions, but they're also the right decisions. And so for me, it was just advocating and speaking to that new audience of skateboarders, and hopefully that they can pick up on that message.
Anna noted I was a middle school educator for many years, and I'd say I started that process as an environmentalist, but I ended up teaching in some environmental schools where it just became how I had to live. I was walking the walk and talking the talk, and the kids were watching. But in the midst of those, I had some experiences that kind of even changed my own motivation for what I was doing. I grew up in the plastic generation. I was a kid of plastics. Loved the plastic toys, and my story this month was that, yeah, I remember burying plastic toys as a way to do archaeology, and always was amazed that they were just the way they were when I would dig them up another year later or many years later. But as a teacher, I was involved in doing some soil sampling with kids, and the person we were working with helped us to identify microplastics within there and recognize what was happening to soil health in the midst of all of the plastics just getting built into soil. And over the years, I have felt that level of concern grow within me around whether that's in soil or water or air to deal with plastics. It's been on my mind, and I now have the sense of being in the generation that's like, we caused this, now what are we going to leave? What are my grandchildren and great-grandchildren and the great-grandchildren I never see going to be thinking about our generation? I'm carrying some of that energy to say, do something. Do something. And I'd say the other folks who helped me a lot were the folks at Eureka, who early on in the work of just being a business owner, trying to figure out where is this stuff going when I send it out, what's happening to it, to hear the challenge of dealing with plastic and how that is always going to be one of the more challenging pieces for us to deal with. So I've come to this realization of it's not just, all right, we'll find a way to recycle it, but we just have to figure out a way to get rid of it and deal with less as much as we can.
All right, well, just wanting to be conscious of time, I'm just going to combine my last two questions here. So, I think Corey mentioned cost as a huge challenge. What are some barriers or challenges you've encountered to making changes to be a more sustainable business? And then how can the community support you and other businesses that are making these efforts?
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on Corey. I think without a doubt the cost is the biggest barrier. I met with my business advisor last month, and it's a small business, you're looking at all of your financials, and one of the biggest things, of course, is your expenses. And so trying to fine-tooth comb them and figure out how to be profitable as a small business. And I literally had a 10-minute conversation with him around toilet paper and, whether or not I could get comfortable with going to a more cost-effective option. And of course, that's a small example of a lot of different decisions, but that messaging for me was just very telling in what truly is important to me and how I choose to show up as, like you said, a leader in the industry as well. So cost, without a doubt. I think, as you mentioned, also lack of great substitutes. So we spend a good amount of time trying to find really good alternatives to the things that seem really easy to purchase in general. And so finding either great partners in the community or just taking that extra time to find companies that we're proud of supporting that can also back up our mission as well. How you can support, of course, patronize all of us, all of each other's businesses. That's the biggest thing, because yes, we're spending more on these mindful choices, and so therefore we need to make some more revenue. So yeah, support in that front. I think continuing to proudly, share with friends and family, not only businesses that you love, but also things that you're doing. I saw a handful of really good suggestions behind us about how we can all make choices. I think we all get to take ownership around showing up well and making an impact. One of the biggest things that you mentioned in your generation is just the creation of and trying to, in a non-judgmental way, try to educate the people that we love and help them make better decisions. So I do that by gifting for Christmas. If you are familiar with Bamboo Switch, they are another awesome company and have a bunch of very common home goods that a lot of people in my family received this year. So yeah, there's a lot of great ways to support, and the most cost-effective one is just encouraging and supporting small business. So.
For me, I would say it's just the social norms. We're in a plastic society. You leave the grocery store, you grab a couple plastic bags, you don't even think twice about it, just go in the trash. We have people that, you probably wear this too, they'll get a to-go cup and then just sit in your cafe and drink it, and then just throw it in the garbage. It's like, did you need that? So it's just trying to get over those things. I would love to not have any to-go cups, and just use 100% reusables, and that was one of the thoughts that I had when I was first opening the cafes. What if I did 100% reusables? And then, to your point, I wouldn't have as many patrons as we do, because just the social norm of getting a to-go container every time you leave, and it goes beyond that, like, through the pandemic, and you get a bag for the to-go container. It's like, well, I got a bag. So it's just getting over people's habits of throwing stuff away and trying to start changing those. We have events sometime at our space, and people just get a cup and just throw it away, where we have like reusables just sitting there on the counter for people to use as well. So trying to get rid of some of those bad habits that we all do, and I still do from time to time. And it's just trying to be an example for people to try to change the way we've been doing things for years and years and years, and really change and look at things differently. So
I was thinking about the challenge of being an outlier, of being a place where people walk in and feel a little uncomfortable based on, what are you doing? What do I do with this? How do I deal with this? I'm okay with being an outlier in lots of ways, but it's also a challenge. It just, if you feel like you've pushed people a little too far, they're going to go somewhere to not hear it. They just want to hear it. We've had a lot of costs that we've kind of figured out ways to keep looking for ways to pass on, but it is indeed going to be the biggest challenge for us until things are more the norm. I was going to say that one of the things I've been doing is recognizing that if we advocate for a society that is built on taking care of our environment, we won't be the outliers. There will be others who will need to catch up, and in the process, all of us will benefit. I want to raise the whole level, not just a few special folks. So advocating for all of the policy work that happens at city level, at county level, at state and federal levels that say, it's time to change. Let's figure out a way to make it how we do business. And I'm okay making those choices myself, but I'd certainly like to be in a place where that's just the norm as well.
Well, thank you all so much. We actually are out of time for the panel, so I would recommend that if anybody has questions, connect directly with these folks. I have learned a whole lot in not a lot of time from these businesses. A big round of applause, and thank you so much to our panelists for sharing these wonderful insights. And thank you all again for coming out to join us tonight and for participating in the county's Plastic Free Challenge.